Sober Sundays with Mike Mechow. We are at Floored Media in Rockville Center, joined by a very special guest. We have Jenna. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, how are you?
I am great.
Good.
Are you a little nervous?
Not really, no. I'm not nervous now. I was before, but now I'm fine.
Okay. So I met Jenna 2015. Can you tell us about Jenna in 2015?
2015 was really like the beginning of such a bad time in my life, actually. And, I had struggled with alcoholism and addiction for years, since my teens, and I had turned 30 years old, and I had, had 2 children at that time, and really things were kind of coming to a crisis. And I believe I was arrested, and they wanted to get me into some sort of treatment, so I went to Seafield. It was close to my house. I had heard about it before, knew people who went there, and that's where I, went for treatment.
So legally mandated?
Legally, not at first, but yeah, legally mandated, and also mandated by CPS also.
CPS involvement. Now, was this drug court, felony treatment court? What were you involved in?
Yeah, felony treatment court at first, and then I had been arrested again, and then ended up being in something called Task.
Yes, we know Task.
Yeah, Norman White. Oh, can I not say?
You could say Norman White,
oh,
sure.
Okay.
R.I.P. Norman White.
R.I.P. Norman White.
Okay.
He was such a nice guy.
He was a great man.
Great man.
Okay, so you went to treatment, all good, never used,
No, not even, no.
Oh.
That's not my story.
I didn't know.
At
Please
all.
tell us.
Yeah. No, I had such a hard time, even being in treatment, trying to go, being in Seafield at first, an outpatient, and then they sent me to inpatient because I couldn't stop using. I couldn't come up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was that because you weren't ready? Was that because you didn't want it? Was that because outpatient wasn't enough? Did you not want to stop?
I don't really know. That kind of that time in my life was very hazy, but what I've come to realize now, looking back, really I had no control over what I was doing. I couldn't stop. I wanted to stop desperately. I would try all different types of things, tell myself I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to wait. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this different. And for me, I had no control over what I was doing, completely out of control. I remember Norman White saying to me, if you come in on Monday and give me a clean tox, you can stay in outpatient and stay home and stay living with your children and stuff like that. And I wanted to. I didn't want to go inpatient. I didn't want to go to long term. And I couldn't do it. I could not do it as much as I wanted to. I couldn't. I had no control whatsoever. I ended up going inpatient at that point.
What does that do for you mentally, trying to control something that you can't control, having love, support, a family that you don't want to use, but yet...
It's terrible. It's so... Yeah, it's the worst thing. Probably I haven't thought about what that felt like for so long, because I'm a little bit removed from it, but it's so hard. There's so much guilt and so much shame, especially being a mother and having children to take care of and not, being able to take care of your children and, do what you're supposed to do.
Does that lead to more using?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. And there's just, like I said, so much guilt, shame. Yeah. And then the only way I knew how to cope with that, with those feelings is, to continue doing what I was doing.
So tell us, you completed treatment.
Yeah, eventually I ended up completing treatment because in my mind, the only way I needed to complete treatment, because I had signed a contract with felony treatment court that I was going to go upstate for 7 years for some of the charges that I had. And I really did not want to do that whatsoever. And, I had, Seafield, I knew if I had positive tox, they were going to, tell the court. Then I had gotten remanded. Then they tell the court had positive tox, I get remanded again, sent whatever, all over. So finally, after about maybe a year and a half of doing that type of thing, I realized the only way, really to stay out of jail, to stay at, outpatient, stay home, was to give clean toxes myself, actually, to do that. So I was going to...
So you bought urines?
No. Well, actually, it's so funny because this is terrible. But I used to get urine from my daughter. I would ask her for her urine. And she remembers this, you know, she said to me the other day. And like, it's funny because like we laugh about it now, which is kind of like, oh my God, like who could laugh at such a terrible thing? But like, that's how we are in my family. I'm very open with my kids because they remember all this going on, you know, so we have to kind of like make light of it. And she's like, remember you used to ask me for pee and tell me it's for the doctor? And I was like, yeah, I remember.
What did you what did you put it in?
Oh my God. Like I would put it in like a small shampoo bottle and I would keep it like right here. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to give anyone any ideas. But
well, that way it's maybe it could save a life if staff knew what to look for.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I would keep it like right here and I would do that. So yeah.
All right. So you completed. Then what happened?
Finally, well, yeah, I completed treatment, outpatient. I completed drug court. And the day before I was about to complete drug court, I ended up picking up again. And, you know, I remember my dad came home from a trip and I heard him put his bag down and it had like pills in it. And I remember hearing them go like, shh, like they made a noise. And just, you know, got this idea, okay, I'm going to take, you know, some of his pills. I'm done. No one's going to be testing me anymore. I have my graduation tomorrow. And then, you know, maybe an hour later, I was on the phone with someone, having them come to my house. And then from there on, I don't remember probably the next, you know, few weeks of what happened. So I ended up completing and you know, I relapsed right after that.
Wow. Okay. How long did you stay out there?
That was, you know, relatively short, about 5 weeks, you know, but those were like really like the worst 5 weeks of my life.
Damaging to the relationship with your family?
Yeah, my family, you know, stopped talking to me at that point.
What about the people who you were meeting in recovery and from?
Yeah, they were like the only ones, honestly, who would check in on me, especially one person who I met in outpatient. Yeah, one woman who was involved in the program and had been doing some work on herself, you know, in a 12-step fellowship.
So that you got support, regardless of you using or not.
Absolutely.
Not judging.
Yeah, and the most support I got was from people in that 12-step fellowship, you know. Okay,
so then you got sober?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, tell us what happened.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, I was living with someone who was just like a really bad alcoholic and just a really bad situation there. And yeah, like I said, that was like the worst 5 weeks of my life. My parents stopped letting me see my children. I was not allowed in my house any longer. You know, I had lost, you know, the job I had that past year when I was in drug court. And, you know, like I said, living with this person. And really, it was just like a big nightmare. I spent the majority of my day locked in the bathroom or locked in the closet or underneath covers. And I remember every couple of days I would kind of like, you know, wake up or get upset and I'd call my dad and he'd answer and I'd say, Dad, you know, can I come home? I don't want to do this anymore. And he would say, you know, go to Detox. And he would hang up the phone. And, you know, I had worse, you know, physical addictions like before this. And I was like, I don't need to go to Detox at this point. Like I'm not physically addicted really to anything, you know, which wasn't necessarily true. And, you know, so I just kind of lived in that situation for so long. And what it really came down to, what for me was like, you know, drugs and alcohol kind of stopped working. And they didn't, you know, I couldn't, like all that shame and all that guilt and all those pain and all those things I had felt before and all those things that I had used drugs and alcohol for so long, it didn't do it anymore. Like I still felt the shame. I still felt the guilt. You know, and I came to a place really where I just wanted to kill myself.
That was actually going to be my question. As you were speaking, yeah. I was about to ask you, was suicide an option? Maybe they call it like the jumping off place.
Right. Yeah. So for me, that was definitely my experience and that's what happened. And it's such a crazy way that it all happened. Thinking about it is really, yeah, I wanted to, because I was so hopeless. Like I couldn't stop, you know, now we've been going on since 2015, since I met you. Now we're in 2018, You know, so this is 3 years of not wanting to be doing what I was doing, you know, completely powerless over it, you know, getting no relief, you know, just complete torture, being separated from everything and everyone that I loved, you know, around people who were just not good people. No, and it was a really bad place. And I would go in the closet and I would want to kill myself 100%, you know. And I remember this very clearly, really wanting to kill myself, really no way out, completely hopeless. Like I said, like I didn't know what to do. And I just remember thinking or having this thought, you know, come into my mind. I don't know if it was a thought of my own or of my own voice or whatever the case may be, but it was just like, you know, you can't let your children, you know, grow up with no mother. Do you want them to grow up with a mother who killed themselves? Grow up with a mother who died from an overdose? Like, is that what you want for your children? That's not what's going to be for them.
So it was do or die.
Do or die.
And we did.
And I did. So, yeah, like I said, like the connections I had made with people in outpatient and the connections I had made with people who were involved in 12-step work, like those were the only people who did reach out to me. And, you know, somehow when I hear this voice telling me, you know, you can't do this to your kids, that's who I reached out to. And they were there.
So how'd you get sober? Did you go to the detox?
So I ended up going to detox, you know, for the last time. And I went out east on the eastern end of Long Island to a hospital there. That's I've been there before. And, you know, it was one of the easiest detoxes I've ever had. You know, it was not a bad experience. And, you know, it's just, you know, they took care of me there for a few days. And, yeah, and I ended up coming out. But the problem was, like, no one knew, you know, my parents didn't know this was going to be my last time going to detox. My dad had taken to me to, you know, 13 detoxes. I think he told me, he always says, well, this is your 13th detox or your 11th detox or whatever. And he didn't know this was going to be the last one, right? So I get out of detox and no one knows, like, what to do with me. And my sister and my dad tell me a story. They were driving and they saw, like, this little, like, RV and they wanted to buy it for me and put it, like, on the property and let me live in this RV. Yeah, because no one wanted me living in the house, you know, because I was crazy. I would steal everything. I would take, you know, everything. I would, you know, even when they didn't let me live there anymore, I would break in and steal stuff from them. And so they're like, all right, maybe we'll get her like this, like she can live in an RV. No one knew what to do with me at that point, you know. And I get out and, you know, so my parents are like, oh, I don't know what to do with her, you know. And I said, I'll just go back to outpatient, you know, and I ended up doing that.
Do you think you got more out of the treatments and the detoxes and from the sober support because you were ready, because it was your time?
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on at all, you know, but at the time. But honestly, I believe that it was my time. Like, that's what God wanted for me, you know. And I really knew in my heart, I knew, you know, that if I would continued on as I was going, I was going to die and I wasn't going to be able to, my kids were not going to have a mother anymore. And I knew that, you know, I really knew that. It was very clear to me. You know, drugs and alcohol stopped working and my only two choices were either kill yourself and die and leave your kids to grow up without a mom, or go accept some type of, like, help, spiritual help. And not even at that point, it wasn't even, I didn't even know it was spiritual help, but it was really, it was so basic. It was just do what someone else is telling you to do at this point. Take direction from someone else.
Someone other than the thoughts in Jenna's head.
Right. The I know, or okay, I've done that before. I know what I'm going to do. I know how to get sober. Like, no, I don't.
The I knows and buts.
Yeah.
Stay away from.
Right.
So would you change anything?
No.
You wouldn't change anything?
No, definitely not. No. It's so crazy. I feel bad for my parents. Like, they had to go through so much. And so did I, like, to really get to, like, this point. But I'm so grateful for all of it. So grateful.
Every drink, every drug.
Yeah.
Served the purpose in the end.
100%. Yeah, because I know, like, in my heart that like I truly am like an alcoholic and I cannot, drink or do drugs ever, and I think everyone in my family, it's like abundantly clear to them as well.
So Jenna, big reason is that you're here.
Yeah.
Sober woman.
Yeah.
2 kids. How do you do it?
I honestly believe like I don't know. I don't really do it. In my experience, like a big part of getting sober has been like, turning my life over to like a higher power and God. And through that, like God helps me do it. God, directs me and leads me and is in me and does all these things, for me. I put in the legwork,
But how is it possible? You're raising 2 kids. I'm assuming you work.
I work.
You have friendships, relationships.
I'm in school. Yeah.
How is all this? How can somebody do all this?
I don't know. It's not hard. It's not a struggle. I remember hearing you say that one time in a meeting, and I said, you know what? It's not. It's not a struggle at all. I wake up in the morning and I ask for help from God. And I wake up very early. I wake up at 6 o'clock every day. There's a lot to get done. But for me, from going from a place that I described to you of like such horrible feelings and wanting to die, the fact that I'm alive today and sitting here, like I do all these things like with enthusiasm. Like I'm so blessed. My son had his birthday party last night, and I paid for that party.
And you were there.
And I was there. I couldn't, and he had friends there too, and I never thought I could ever do any of that stuff. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do it.
Do you think your kids are proud of you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I love the relationship I have with my kids. I'm so, they're the best kids and they haven't had it easy. And like their father is also an alcoholic and a drug addict and he's not, where I'm at. And that's okay too, but it's not easy. And, they've handled all this stuff and I think that they're just great kids. And I love the communication we have. And the best thing about my relationship with my kids is like, I'm there. Like I could sit there and be with them and talk to them and look them in the eyes and be honest with them. And like, I'm not thinking about something else. It's just like a very good relationship. We're able to be honest with each other and talk and stuff like that.
Do you find it more difficult, or I'll even jump ahead, or maybe more of a blessing or a good artillery to like of weapons to have in your back pocket of being a single mother coming into to recovery young? Is this something that weighs somebody down?
No, not at all. It's actually, you're right. Like it's such a good thing. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I remember my dad said that to me one time. I was like, I don't want to, leave my husband or whatever the case may be. It's like, it's better to be, like a single mom than it is to be like an abused wife. And, but it is an asset. Yeah. And I don't really, it's a blessing, and I don't do it by myself. My family does help me so much. And I have a community of people, who love me and support me and love my children and help me with all that. It's not just me at all. I'm just so fortunate that I have so many people, who I've met through the fellowship and all that,
Does your father, do your kids, do they trust you now?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's crazy.
Is it uncomfortable for you?
No, not now.
But do you second guess, like maybe they don't, like when you say I'm leaving the house, do you know that they know you're going to be okay?
Yeah, they trust me 100%, definitely. Then they'll be okay, yeah.
And where do you see yourself in maybe the near future?
Near future? I don't know. I don't really think about it. I always try to like keep stuff in the day and stuff like that, but I'm in school right now. And yeah, I just really want to try to help more people, that they can get better too. Because if I can do it, literally, anybody can. And
I second that.
Yeah. So I just feel as though, I really want to change kind of like my career and move in a direction where I can, serve the community and help other people.
It sounds like you're going to school for a social worker.
No.
What are we trying to do?
I'm actually in school for nursing right now.
Very nice.
Yeah, so.
So Jenna, before you take us out, I was just telling you that I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
When does Jenna become proud of herself or recognize the miracles that have happened in her life? Maybe not a direct result of you, but you did put in the work. Yeah,
I did. I don't know. It's really just, I think for me, like recognizing it as being able to, to show someone else how I did it too, and having enough confidence to know, this is really like the truth and this is how we get sober and this is what we do. And I'm going to show the next woman how to do it, and be available when someone walks in a room, and be that power of example and smile at that person and make them feel welcome and know that they're in the right place, and by texting people and checking in on them and women who are younger and who are going through a hard time, just to be nice to them and love them, and be there for them. That's really how I try to, model that confidence and that what has happened in my life, is I could show the next woman that they can do it too. And by doing that, by being kind and loving to them.
And you're doing this to stay sober, or you're doing this because you want to?
Yeah, I think they teach us, we have to do this to stay sober, but at some point it really, for me, it has changed into something I want to do. Coming up here today, I'll leave you with this last example, okay? This is like an uncomfortable situation for me to come up here and talk about all these things. It's not something I always want to do, but, given the opportunity to do it, I'm so grateful to do it. So I do it. I've been taught that if someone asks you to do something like this, you do it, right? So I'm nervous coming up here. And for me, what I do is I ask God for help. And as I'm walking up here, my phone rings. And who is calling me? It's another woman who needs help, and I answer the phone and I'm able to take it off me and see what she needs and how is she doing. And it's not about me, and then that fear leaves me and really I'm able to be used in a way that I would never come up with. I ask for help and then God says to me, yeah, help someone else instead, and that happens to me all the time. And then that's like where the joy is, and seeing these people do better. Like you see the joy in seeing me come so far in all these years. And it's like, I get to see that too.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. That was an excellent way to end, Jenna.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anybody is looking for help or needs anything, you can always contact me or Jenna. You can check us out on the website, SoberSundaysPodcast.com. And thank you so much, Jenna.
Thanks, Mike.